Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we will be checking something completely new. Why? Because this is a new fresh release from Eduard. It is molded in 1/48 scale. It is a limited edition and it copies P-51 in 1/48 scale. So this is a new tool to release. This plastic was not produced before, and Eduard was working on this project for quite a long time. And now we have a first release which will be available as a limited edition. It will be sold on the IPMS in USA, but we have a one piece for the review, so we are going to check closer together with you what is hidden here. And as you can see, the name of this kit is a Chattanooga Choo. It is 1/48 scale, once again I will remind it. And the box size, I would say, is a typical size for 1/48 scale releases from this manufacturer. Here you can see comparison with my hand. Box art is, I would say, rather beautiful. Here on this side we have some small pictures of the marking options which are included into this kit. So there are 6 markings and you can see them with your own eyes, but we will check them a bit later. They should be in assembly manual as well. Then on the other side we can see some information about the kit. So there is a Eduard plastic for P-51 D5 with dorsal fin assembly. That means with this part. 6 markings for P-51D in the US Army and Air Force service. Cartograph decals, also P parts and painting mask. And also here somewhere, yes, here I saw the Boeing logo. So it's officially licensed product. And as you can see, it's produced under the license of the Boeing North American P-51 Mustang and blah blah blah. It is manufactured in Czech Republic, and now we can open it because there is nothing else to read on this box. So this is a top opening box. Just give me a second to lift it. It is quite sturdy, I would say. Here is what we have inside. So assembly manual, then we have plastic sprues, and note that clear sprue is packed into the separate plastic bag, while all other gray plastic frames, they're packed all together. So we will be checking them in this order. I'm putting the assembly manual on the bottom, it will be the last one. And we are going to start with clear parts. So obviously the separate plastic bag is used in order to avoid possible scratches on such tender parts. And here we have this plastic sprue. Let's zoom in, and now you should be able to see it. So here we have all necessary parts for the canopy and also for the cockpit, because you can see there is a target side here. Of course, this is a 2-piece canopy. As you can see, we have 3 types of this bubble top canopy. So I guess there will be some other versions available a bit later. And molding quality looks really good. I don't have any complaints about it. And we can even zoom in a bit. I'll focus the camera so that you can see it. And now you should be able to see the molding quality of those bubble top parts, which are actually the movable sections of the canopy. And here you can see the frontal section. Note that here we have this frozen finish, which is actually copying the fuselage part. Here we have some minor elements for position lights, target sights, and other components. Everything looks fine, and I think with due care you will get really nice result with these parts. And don't forget that there are masks included, so it should be relatively easy to work with these elements. Next we have gray plastic sprues. Once again I remind you that they're packed all together into the same plastic bag, so let's open them. Just give me a second. Okay, remove them. As you remember, on Brno model or model Brno, we had a chance to check some of the plastic sprues, but there were like several, I think 3 of them. But now we have the full set, so it means you will get exactly the same set if you order it from Eduard directly. Here first we have the fuselage halves. So both are molded together with tail segment, but note that dorsal fin is molded separately. We have also the cowling part molded together with those halves. So I'm not that sure if it is, I would say, the great idea to have it pre-molded together with fuselage halves. I would rather have it as a separate panel in order to avoid any possible gaps in such visible area, but we have what we have. And the same concerns about the air intake, because as you can see it is also pre-molded with fuselage halves. I'm not sure how it will work, we have to check it. Here by the way you can see the dorsal fins, but let's zoom in a bit so that we can see those fuselage halves. So of course here we have the recessed panel lines and riveting. Everything looks really nice, and I think with some careful painting you should get even better appearance. And inside we have, as far as you can see, we have guiding pins, at least some guiding elements, and it should be more or less easy to combine those parts together. But again, I'm reminding you that we have the top cooling section and also air intakes pre-molded, so be ready for this. It might require some sanding in order to get a smooth connection between those two halves. Actually, it is quite surprising. Who knows, maybe there will be some separate resin upgrade for those areas, but now you have to deal with what you get in the plastic. Here we get another plastic sprue. This one is dedicated to various minor elements. The most noticeable ones are the parts for the wheel wells. As you can see, they are quite large. Here we have some air intake parts. Tires are molded separately from wheel rims. And also here we have some air intakes parts as well. Now let's zoom in a bit so that we can check all those parts closer. So first of all, we have here the wheel well parts. This part obviously will go into the air intake. Here we have the inserts for the wings. Next we continue with landing gear legs. I can guess that there will be also bronze aftermarket upgrade from the same manufacturer, so if you prefer metal on your model you can get this upgrade and install it straight away. Then here we have the wheels with separate tires, as I said before. Again, Eduard should produce some resin upgrades for this area, so if you fan of better detailing on your model, you can get resin or brassine wheels in order to replace those ones. Next we continue with various parts for the wheel wells, and note the molding quality. I would say it's really nice. The attachment points look really thin, and I guess it should be easy to work with them. Here by the way you can see the exhausts. Those should be upgradable with resin as well. I can guess that there will be a resin upgrade for sure. And here you can see those parts from the other side. So the most interesting is this pair of parts for the landing gear doors, and also here we can see the wheel rims, which are also quite nice looking parts. Okay. Next we have another plastic sprue. This one is also dedicated to mix of various parts, so let's place it like this. Zoom out a bit because first we have to check the whole sprue. So what do we have here? First of all, you can see here the two parts for the propeller. Actually there are three types of the propeller. One piece pilot seat, cockpit floor. Also here we have cockpit walls which are molded separately, surprisingly I would say. We have dashboards, and both dashboards are plain. I'm not sure why, we will have to check the assembly manual. Here we have also some cockpit internal parts, and molding quality seems to be fine. Even thin parts are molded without any extra plastic bits on them, but you have to be careful because some parts are really thin and small. For example this one, I would zoom in so that you can see it. So here you can see this part. Obviously you will need tweezers for the installation process because otherwise it will be tricky to handle it. Here you can see propeller parts, one piece pilot seat. And note that one piece pilot seat has already these holes in it, so you won't have to drill anything. Here we have the fuel tank, also we have the armor wall. Here we have dashboard parts with pre-molded dials, and here we have the plain ones for P ports. Then we have pedals, coaming panels. Then these are propeller hubs and cockpit floor, and cockpit walls. Note that cockpit walls are pre-molded as one-piece parts. Here you can see another one. I would say that's a really nice finish because you won't have to deal with separate bits, but because we have the P parts here, you have to install them on those plastic, let's say, bases. Here you can see control stick, and also on this corner we get another version of the propeller. What I would like to check is another side of this cockpit wall, so here you can see another one. Here you can see what we have inside coaming panels, and also dashboards from the rear side. And here we can see also another cockpit wall from another side. We have guiding pins here, so it should be relatively easy to place them in the right corner, because otherwise it would be tricky without any pins on them. Then we have another plastic sprue. As you remember, this one was available on model Bruno, and it contains all external equipment for this aircraft. We have here fuel tanks, we have also missile launchers with missiles, and molding quality seems to be fine. Inside we have guiding pins for the proper placement of those two halves together, and it should simplify the assembly process and also speed up the assembly process. So I guess there is nothing extra to say, and we can move to the last gray plastic sprue. Here it is. As you can see here, we get the classic wings parts division, so we get the one lower section and two top halves. We also have the separate ailerons and flaps, as far as you can see. Also we get the halves for the tail wings and also separate elevators. Let's flip it over. Here you can see that we have also guiding pins and wing edges. They will serve as a guiding elements as well, and the same can be said about the tail wings. Now let's zoom in, because there is a nice detailing on those wing parts. As you can see, we have recessed panel lines, and of course all those necessary holes for guiding or position lights, they're pre-cut. The same can be said about top halves. They look really nice. And here you can see those parts from another side. They look really good, and I hope that fitment will be nice as well, because otherwise it would be a surprise. Okay, next we have several additional bonuses for this limited edition. Okay, so first one is this small plastic bag with PE thread. There is only one PE thread, and as you can see, it features all necessary cockpit elements, and I would like to show it closer, because otherwise you won't be able to see what do we have here. So first of all, we have here this dial glass imitation. It's the latest technology from Eduard, and we get it on this sprue as well. We also have the seat belts, obviously, and also some mesh for the air intake, some minor controls for the cockpit. Everything looks fine, and I think it will be a noticeable upgrade in cockpit of your Mustang, so I would recommend to install it straight away. Otherwise, I mean, why would you have the PE thread in this kit? I don't understand those people who don't use the standard included PE in the kit, and they rather use the decals. Next we have another plastic bag with masks. So as I said, those masks will be useful for the canopy, and as far as you can see, there are also some stickers for the wheels, but we'll learn more about them in assembly manual. Next component is a decals sheet. So here it is, the separate plastic bag, and surprisingly there is only one decals sheet inside. So just give me a second to open it, and we will take a closer look at what is printed here. Okay, so here it is. First of all, small reminder that it comes from cartograph, so that's why printing quality should be pretty much okay. Here we have all necessary stencils. Note that they're separated with this line, so you can cut them off and use them. There is no segmentation in accordance with marking option, but we have this also separate cut line for the swastika symbols, so I guess on some markets these decals won't be available. But you can copy, as far as you can see, them with your own hands. Also here we have the decals for the cockpit and some stencils, etc, etc. Let's zoom in. Here you can check the stencils closer. Again, I remind that printing quality looks really nice. Here you can see the cut-off section with all the swastika symbols, which can be used or should be used with one of the marking options. Okay. And last but not the least is this thing. It's assembly manual, obviously, which is printed in color, and as you can see, we have it in form of typical Eduard brochure. Here again we have the Boeing logo, and now, sorry for shaking camera, now we can move on to the first page. First of all, here we have the parts map. Note how many parts won't be used in this build, so it hints that we will have more of the various options or versions in the future, so stay tuned. Here we have assembly process which starts with the rear armor wall and pivot seat. Then we continue with cockpit floor and fuel tank and radio station, of course, which was placed behind pivot. Here we have the cockpit wall assembly process, so be ready for this. As I said, we have a lot of parts, PE parts to install here. Next we go on with installation of this cockpit wall into the fuselage half, and then we join everything together. Note that the rear section of the wheel wells is replicated with 2 parts. It's quite an interesting approach, I would say, to this area, because usually manufacturers just place some doors and pretty much done with it. Then here we assemble the wheel wells. As you can see, that's a matter of joining 1, 2, 3, 4 parts together and then adding another one from the bottom, and then you install all those minor tabs into the subassembly, and again you join all this stuff together with the lower wing half. So it's pretty much I would say complex process. Be sure to install everything into the right spot. Here we continue with installation of the ailerons and those inserts for the machine guns. Then we continue with guiding lights or position lights. Here we install the tail surfaces as well as this dorsal fin. Here we work on the dashboard, and that's quite an interesting approach. As you can see, dashboard and pedals, they will be inserted once the fuselage is assembled, not like any other manufacturer which suggests to install it in advance. Here we have it installed, let's say, on a later stages. Okay. Next we have rear landing gear together with leg. And as you can see, wheel is molded separately from the leg, so you can paint it and then install onto the leg. Here we have air intake parts installed into the necessary spots. The same can be said about the air intake frontal section. And here we also install various parts for the wheel wells. As you can see, you have the option to choose between those inserts in the cowling area. It will depend on the marking option you will choose for your aircraft, obviously. Then we continue with landing gear system. It means the wheels and also landing gear leg. And note that tires should be glued out of 2 halves. That's quite surprising. I didn't notice it on the sprues. So if you would like to get even more convincing finish, I would rather recommend to go for Brazil wheels for this kit. Then we have the masks application guide, and as you can see, it is concerned with canopy parts and also with the tail landing gear wheel. Okay, here we install flaps, and as far as you can see, they will be in deployed position. Then you choose between the landing gear doors, because it will depend on the marking option you choose. The same can be said about the exhausts, so be sure to use the right parts for your build. And next we continue with canopy parts. Again, there are a lot of variable options depending on the marking you choose. Here we assemble the fuel tanks, and as you can see, there is a choice between 2 versions. And first marking option comes from the United Kingdom 1945. As you can see, it has this Chattanooga Choo writing and the green cowling. Next we continue with the aircraft from United Kingdom autumn 1944. It has this MEG writing on the frontal section and also front nose and frontal fin. Actually, red fin, not the frontal fin. Another one with yellow fin comes from the Italy in autumn 1944. Here we have the whole green aircraft, which is quite unusual for P-51D. As you can see, it comes from United Kingdom April 1945. This one comes from United Kingdom 1944. It features this Miss Steve writing on the cowling and also the blue fin section. Here we have another one from United Kingdom, November 1944. This one I would rather say it's a simple version, even though this curve might be a tricky part to copy in the painting, in the marking of this model. And then we have P-51 D5 aluminum lacquer painted areas so that you know where to paint the aluminum lacquer and where to use the natural metal finish on this aircraft, because as you can see, not the whole aircraft was painted into the shiny metal surface, unlike some modelers do on their models. And here on the last page we have the stenciling guide for this aircraft. As you can see, there are plenty of stencils to apply, but in 1/48 scale it will be noticeable. And here we have also small writing that it was created in cooperation with Decals. So as I said, this kit should be introduced on the IPMS exhibition. I think it will happen this week. And of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about the new release from Eduard. It's a completely new plastic, so that's why it is interesting to learn what you think about this model. Write it here in the comment section below. Of course, if you like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can grow. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Stay tuned and bye.